All right, good afternoon, everyone. And this is Keith Stumble with the National Weather Service, Peachtree City. This is a special weather briefing for the cold and potential winter weather early next week. We chose to do this briefing today because it is a long weekend and the potential for winter weather would sneak into the forecast come early Tuesday. And so it is technically the last work day before you'd have to return on Tuesday. And so we at least want to begin discussions so that you can pay attention to the forecast and the trends through the weekend. So the main points and the highlights. Let it catch up here. There we go. I was waiting for it to catch up. Main points beginning Saturday the 18th, and this what we're going to talk about is through the period next Thursday. The Arctic front, there is an Arctic front that will be moving into the region this weekend. There is rain that is moving into the area Friday night into Saturday. There's no storm or lightning threat with that, no thunderstorm, no severe threat. Half an inch to an inch is expected with that. Locally higher amounts across maybe central or middle Georgia. The good news with this rain is that there are some areas in far north Georgia that still have snow, especially the higher elevations. We aren't expecting snow with this particular event, except maybe the higher peaks at the tail end of it. But the rain would help to at least ease some of the icing concerns that are happening up there. Come late Sunday or during the day Sunday into Monday, much colder conditions are expected to arrive. Sunday into Monday. Wind chill values Monday morning will be down in the 0 to 10 degree range, maybe below 0 in far north Georgia, but Monday morning. And with this cold air, we are expecting an extended period of cold and below normal temperatures through the week. That is one thing that we are very confident on. That is the cold air that is coming in during the weekend. There is, however, the potential, and you've probably seen it if you've watched the news or watched various social media outlets. There is a winter weather potential that does exist somewhere in the southeast and the south next week. There still is a lot of uncertainty with it, but I will say that the models are starting to come into a Tuesday/Wednesday time frame. There is uncertainty on the timing. A lot of uncertainty on the location and the amounts. And so we're not going to talk a whole lot about amounts other than maybe the probability of exceeding certain amounts. The one thing I will say that is the big caveat here with all of this, because the cold air is coming in, if we get winter weather, that is, if we get winter weather, there most likely will be impacts because of how cold it is. And I'll talk about that when we go through some of the cold stuff in just a minute. So let's talk about the cold first. Here are the weather maps for Sunday and Monday. Sunday is on your left. The very cold Arctic air, and this is the origins of this are way up in the Arctic. It's coming south this weekend behind the front that moves through and will be overtaking much of the United States east of the Rocky Mountains. It really settles into the region by Monday, and you can see it on the map on the right. The cold Arctic air is in place. And so that is one thing, again, we are very confident about, is that next week is going to be very cold. And so with that, I'll dive into the various temperatures to take you through the week. And we'll start with Sunday night. Overnight lows into Monday morning, we're looking at mid-teens for areas north and west of I-85, maybe north of I-20. Teens to near 20 degrees across middle Georgia. And we're talking cold temps all the way down to the coast across the state. If you look at the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice a wind chill temperatures. Monday morning wind chills are expected to be the lowest. These are the expected wind chill temperatures on Monday morning. We're talking 0 to 5 degrees in the I-20 corridor, I-85 corridor. Probably below 0 in far north Georgia, say the northern or the 3-tier of counties on the north side, near 10 degrees, maybe 10 to 15 degrees in middle Georgia. So Wind chills, that certainly would meet the cold weather advisory, and we would expect to have one of those out and issued by Monday. We're actually flirting with the extreme cold warning for Monday, and we'll just have to evaluate the trends and the temps with those. But those would be 0 or below in the Atlanta metro, 5 degrees or below 0, or 5 below 0 across far north Georgia, and under 10 in middle Georgia. So we'll have to, again, pay attention to those through the weekend. All right, Monday, high temperatures Monday. You can see the freezing line is, again, I-20, I-85 northward, hovering near freezing or below. Middle Georgia only making it up into the middle 30s. Low temperatures Monday night, you can see on the right-hand side, back into the teens and low 20s across much of the area. Fast forward to Tuesday, high temps on Tuesday. Again, looking to be near freezing across northern part of Georgia, middle Georgia, maybe middle 30s. Here's the caveat for Tuesday. Max temps, meaning the high temps on Tuesday, most likely will be colder if wintry precip is falling. And we'll cover that in a minute. But the one thing to keep in mind when you're seeing temperature forecasts from like the way we model, we look at 100 different computer models, and those 100 different computer models are going into this forecast. Well, if there's 30 of those 100 are not producing any snow, then those 30 are going to show maybe a little bit warmer temperatures because the snow or the winter precip isn't holding temperatures down. So some of those things are leaking into some of the forecasts out in the extended period. But just keep in mind that if there is snow falling, it will be colder than probably what you see here on the left-hand side for highs on Tuesday. Low temperatures Tuesday night, again, middle teens across far north Georgia, 20s in middle Georgia. Some of the caveats here again are if there's snow on the ground, we could see cooler temps in some areas. We'll just have to wait and see how those trends go. I will say when I loaded these graphics from what Dave sent out yesterday in an email, the temps were colder. So the trend has definitely been on the colder side with some of these temperatures out in the extended period into the middle of next week. Fast forward to Wednesday, you can see temps maybe getting up into the middle 30s Wednesday afternoon, with again Wednesday night into Thursday morning, temps back down into the teens and to near 20 across a good chunk of the area. The caveat here again is max temps on Wednesday could and most likely would be colder if winter precip is actively falling or has fell on Tuesday. So those are the caveats with the temperature forecast out in the extended period next week. I did not put Thursday on yet just because there's a lot of things that can change between then, and we can update that as we get out in there. But for now, the temps, I think, get up to near 40, maybe in the low 40s across everywhere, I-20 south. The same caveat from Wednesday would apply to Thursday, that if there's snow on the ground, it's possible that we could stay a little bit colder, a little bit longer going into Thursday. So moral of the story is it's a prolonged period of cold. And so what we've done here is, based on our forecast, we've calculated the number of hours at or below 32 degrees from Sunday night through Thursday morning. And you can see the numbers on the screen. The maximum number here would be, I think, 96 or 90, if I did my math right. And so it does look like it's setting up to be a long duration cold event. From past experience and events that we've had like this, going back to the early January 2014 event, once we start getting below freezing beyond 48 hours, especially when we're dealing with temperatures in the middle teens across a good chunk of the area, we really start to see pipes freezing and bursting, and that includes some inside walls. So what we're going to recommend you all do and you start messaging is for people to start taking the precautions to help try and prevent some of those things from happening during the week. And this weekend will be a good chance to try and do those things. Examples, draining the sprinkler lines or protecting the outdoor pipes, and maybe slow dripping the faucet during the peak of the cold, so that we can help try to prevent some of the pipe bursting things that could happen during the week next week. And we'll probably be sending out more messaging on that type of thing through the weekend, but definitely start thinking about that, because that is something that looks like it's a given, is the duration of the cold. So now transitioning over to snow and chance of snow. Little more uncertainty in the snow part of the forecast and wintry precip. The map on the left is the WPC map, showing the possibility of snow on Tuesday. This is the Tuesday morning map, valid during the day Tuesday, and you can see that swath there. It would be Tuesday into Wednesday. The graphic on the right is the National Blended Models, which is the 100. This is taken from 100 different computer models, showing a 20 to 40% probability of at least seeing 1 inch of snow, and that would be during the period Tuesday morning through Thursday, with, again, a lot of that probability coming in on the front end. So during the day Tuesday into early Wednesday. However, there are some models within that grouping that try to drag it out and make it a little bit later arrival Wednesday into Thursday. Those are the things that we'll have to refine through the weekend, and hopefully we'll get a better idea of timing. And I'll talk about timing a little bit toward the end of this when we talk about the potential. But just wanted to show you that there is a 20 to 40% chance. Now, keep in mind, it may not sound like a lot, but at 4 to 6 days out, a 20 to 40% probability of at least 1 inch of snow is a really high probability. So that just means that a large number of the models are honing in on the chance of at least seeing snow, or at least seeing 1 inch of snow. So let's talk about the actual potential. So I just went through the list of temperatures for next week. If winter precip falls, it will likely be impactful. And the reasons are, we have cold temperatures leading into any snowfall. And again, if the snowfall is coming Tuesday, Monday being the coldest day, and then going into Tuesday, the impacts on the roads will likely happen very shortly after the onset, even with smaller amounts. And snow gem is a perfect example of what happens when it snows at very cold temperatures. Shortly after it starts snowing, the roads ice up, and it's because of how cold it is going into the precip actually falling. It would be a similar type situation where we start snowing into a very cold atmosphere, and it starts having an impact very shortly after the onset. It's likely leading up to something like that if it occurs. So that's the cold temps. And then the second half of that is we're expecting cold temperatures to linger for several days after any snow might fall on Tuesday. So the impacts on the roadways could linger for several days after it falls. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to jump out and give you all a briefing today. Was I know the schools are not coming back until Tuesday. They may have to make some decisions today to send stuff home with the kids or whatever, because we're getting those questions. I just wanted to throw that out there, that if we do get snow on Tuesday, there could be impacts that linger several days beyond Tuesday. And so be prepared for possibly a longer duration of impacts next week as a result. The graphic you're looking at on the right is from the Winter Storm Severity Index. It's the Weather Prediction Center. The link's actually at the top. It's basically looking at all of those things, the precip probabilities, the snow, the how cold the temperatures are, and then relating that back to possible impacts. And so what it's showing you here is the likelihood of impact on during the period Tuesday into Wednesday of minor impacts. And minor impacts would be driving conditions. And it's giving us a 50 to 60% likelihood of at least minor impacts as a result of the probability of seeing snow. Moral of the story is, and it sort of hits on the headline, if we see winter precip, it will likely have impacts, and this sort of goes hand in hand with that. All right, if I take this up a notch and go to moderate and major impacts, moderate being on the left-hand side, and you can see that the probabilities, we have 30 to 40% probabilities of at least moderate impacts, and then 20 to 30% probabilities of major impacts on the right-hand side. The one thing that if you notice in this as opposed to the minor impacts, there is a slight shift north in the maximum line. So if you drew a line of where, like down the middle of those maximum probabilities, there's a slight shift north. And so you see that really easily on the 20 to 30% probability of major impacts. And that's the cold air coming into play, as what I was just talking about, and the potential for lingering road impacts for several days and widespread closures. And you can read the major impacts there that are in the middle. And so that's all again derived from the forecast, of combination of both temperature and potential for snow. But just wanted to show you this. It sort of reiterates what we're talking about with the headline that if winter precip falls, it will likely be impactful, and it probably for a couple days. So something we'll have to watch through the weekend. All right. So now let's talk about the actual potential. Not going to deep dive into amounts, but this particular winter storm and this particular setup does have a boom or bust potential, meaning there is the chance that we could see a significant snow event Tuesday or Wednesday. What you're seeing on the left is the National Blend of Models, the 100 different models that are coming into us and blended together. 10% of them are showing at least this much snow or more, which is significant. 3 to, you can see the colors, pretty high-end snow amounts, potential. It is on the table. I'm not going to take it off the table. But at the same time, the graphic on the right, 30% of those 100 models are showing absolutely no snow. So there also is a decent probability that nothing happens. The trend is away from that. What we're seeing in some of the various models that are coming in every 6 hours, every 12, every 24 hours, the trend is starting to move away from that zero potential, but it's still on the table, depending on how things evolve with the upper level pattern, et cetera, et cetera. So the moral of the story is this event does have a higher ceiling, a higher potential due to the various dynamics in play, which were in play for snow in the first place. But it also means that there is a real possibility that we see nothing at all and it's nothing but cold next week. So just wanted to throw that out there and make you aware that that all is on the table. All right. Making that case, these are the 100, I'll say the 100 computer model simulations, the GFS, the Euro, you see them on the Weather Channel all the time, the Canadian, these are the 100 computer models that are going into that those probabilities. These are all of their probability of at least 1 inch of snow. The GFS on the far left has been the driest up to this point. It has been the one group that has given us the most zero potentials. One thing we're seeing with it is that it is trending a little bit snowier. It's now showing at least 30 to maybe 40 or 40 to 50 probabilities across that middle Georgia. You can see the swath there. The Euro ensemble is in the middle. It's showing a range of 30 to 50% chance of at least 1 inch of snow. And you can see, again, the swath across a good chunk of Georgia. And then the one that has been pretty bold up to this point and consistently bold with the highest snow totals has been the Canadian grouping. It's showing 70 to 80% chance of at least 1 inch of snow. And there are a number of its groups that are showing higher end snow amounts. So all of them have some higher end snow amounts in their various 30, 50, and 20 members. But they also some of them have zero numbers in there as well. Just wanted to show you this. The one thing that stands out to us is the consistency between the three in the area that it's trying to hit. And that is stretching from, say, just north of Houston, Lake Charles, eastward across the Gulf Coast, and then turning northeast right through the middle of Georgia. Almost all of them have that footprint. And that's the one thing, again, we'll watch with time is where that main swath either shifts north or south with time as we get closer to the actual event occurring. The last thing I want to talk about and leave you with is the winter precip timing. And just like in hurricanes, we talk about the earliest reasonable onset time, since many folks want to know when is it going to start. The earliest estimate I can give you is Tuesday morning. The when we look at the probabilities, when we look at all of the models individually, the vast majority of them are bringing it in after Tuesday morning, after 7 a.m. There may be one or two that bring it in slightly before 7 a.m. Tuesday, but it doesn't get much earlier than that. So from the earliest reasonable onset time, I think it's safe to say Tuesday morning, but most likely time would be during the day Tuesday into Wednesday, at least right now. Again, this could still change. What you're looking at on the screen is the GFS model on the left, the Canadian model on the right. Obviously, you can see some similarities taking shape back to the west over Texas and Louisiana. This is Tuesday at 1 p.m. And this would indicate that precip shield will be spreading eastward during the day on Tuesday, at least for now. And we'll just have to see how this evolves through the weekend. So stay tuned. So that wraps up all the things I at least wanted to cover today and talk about. Just to reiterate, we got the rain coming in this weekend, the cold front. Temperatures drop Sunday, expected to be very cold on Monday. Wind chills down near 0 or below in some areas. Expect an extended period of cold through next week, with the winter weather potentially coming in as early as Tuesday. And we'll just have to track how that falls. But probably the most important thing that I have on the screen is that if we see winter weather, it is likely to have an impact, even at small amounts. So, excuse me. We are planning additional briefings. We'll probably do them. I think we're talking about doing a recorded briefing tomorrow, not necessarily a live one since it is a Saturday, but we'll definitely be doing emails and briefings through the weekend. We'll probably spin live ones back up at some point and send that information out, but it won't be the end of it. I do encourage you, if you do have a Slack account, to join us in Slack. We are posting updates and we'll answer questions in Slack if you have them. So please reach out to us there. I will conclude this briefing